The Supreme Court just took a sledgehammer to the gun permit system in America. And by the time this video ends, you are going to understand exactly what that means for your state. 0:088 seconds your gun and your rights. Quick question before we continue. Are you subscribed? Because what I am about to break down could be the most important legal update you hear all year. In some states, having a gun permit might actually mean less than you think right now. And if you do not understand these rulings, you could make a decision that lands you in serious legal trouble. Hit that subscribe button right now. I will wait. Okay, let us get into it. Here's what just happened. Actually, let me back up because to understand what is going on right now in 2026, you need to understand what started this whole thing back in 2022. There was a massive Supreme Court case. It was called New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruen. Most people just call it the Bruen decision, and it was a 6-3 ruling that basically changed the rules of the entire gun permit game across the country. Here's the simple version of what Bruen did. Before this ruling, some states had what is called a may-issue permit system. That means a government official like a police chief or a judge could look at your permit application and just say no. Not because you failed a background check, not because you had a criminal record, but just because they personally decided you did not have a good enough reason to carry a gun. That sounds a little unfair, right? The Supreme Court agreed with you. In New York, for example, you had to prove you had a special reason to carry things like maybe you carry large amounts of cash for your business or you have received specific threats against your life. Regular, everyday self-defense. That was not considered a good enough reason. This is what New York had been doing for over a century. And the Supreme Court looked at that and said, no, that is unconstitutional. Your Second Amendment right does not depend on convincing a government official that your reason is good enough. So with Bruen, the court created a new legal test. Gun laws now have to be rooted in America's historical tradition of firearm regulation. If the government cannot show that a similar law existed back in the founding era, that law is in serious trouble. This is huge. This is a game share, and this is the foundation of everything that is happening right now. Before Bruen, 7 states had those may-issue systems. New York, California, Hawaii, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and the District of Columbia. All of them were operating systems where you could do everything right and still get denied just because an official felt like it. After Bruen, the whole country was forced toward what is called shall issue. That means if you meet the legal requirements, they have to give you the permit. Period. Full stop. No official discretion. No personal opinions. You qualify. You get it. And here's the part that nobody on the news was talking about. 29 states right now do not even require a permit at all. They are called constitutional carry states or permitless carry states. Places like Texas, Florida, Arizona, Tennessee, and Montana. In those states, if you are a legal gun owner who is legally allowed to carry, you can do it without a permit. No class is required. In some cases, no application process. The Second Amendment is your permit. That is almost 60% of all 50 states. Let that sink in for a second. Now, this is where it gets interesting, and this is the part that is happening right now in 2026. If you are finding this helpful, imagine what you're going to learn in my next video about the exact 5 words that can protect you when a police officer asks about your gun during a traffic stop. Subscribe right now so you do not miss it. That video could literally save you from making a mistake that costs thousands of dollars in legal fees. So, here is the brand new case you need to know about. It is called Wolford versus Lopez. And this one involves a Hawaii law that gun owners have started calling the vampire rule. Here's why. The law basically says that if you have a concealed carry permit in Hawaii, you cannot bring your gun into any private property that is open to the public unless that property has a sign posted that specifically says guns are allowed. Think about what that means in practice. Walk into a grocery store, no sign, you cannot carry. Walk into a restaurant, no sign. You cannot carry. I go to a park, a bank, a bar, a movie theater, a shopping mall, no sign, you cannot carry. Basically, the only place you could legally carry your permitted firearm is on the public street or in your own home. The permit becomes almost worthless. You jump through every legal hoop, pass your background check, complete your training, pay your fees, get your permit, and then the state says, great, but you still cannot bring it anywhere that actually matters for self-defense. Now, here's why this case is so important for the entire country. For other states have very similar laws right now. California, Maryland, New Jersey, and New York all passed laws after the Bruin decision that included these massive lists of sensitive places where you cannot carry even with a permit. The Supreme Court heard oral arguments in Wilford versus Lopez on January 20th, 2026. And here's the part that shocked me. The justices appeared to side with the gun owners. Multiple justices questioned how a state can make a law essentially useless. If you have a legal right and a legal permit, can the government just stack up so many restrictions that the right means nothing? Based on what the justices were asking in that hearing, it looks like the answer is going to be no. A final decision is expected before the end of the Supreme Court term. We are watching history unfold in real time. Now, quick legal note. This is educational information, not legal advice. Every person's situation is different depending on their state, their criminal history, and their specific circumstances. Always consult a licensed attorney in your state for guidance on your specific situation. With that said, let me keep breaking this down for you. Let me explain what this means for you depending on which state you live in. Because your situation is very different depending on where you are right now. If you live in one of the 29 constitutional carry states, this largely does not change your day-to-day carry situation. You already have the most permissive carry rights in the country, but you should still pay attention. The Supreme Court is redrawing the lines right now. Those lines affect what places are off limits even in your state. If you live in a shallow state that requires a permit but gives you one if you qualify, you are in the middle of the pack. The Bruin decision already helped you. Your state cannot deny your permit just because an official does not like your reason. You need to check if your state's 6:006 minutes has passed new sensitive places laws since 2022. A lot of states quietly added new lists of restricted locations after Bruin. Some of those lists are being challenged in court right now. If you live in California, Hawaii, Maryland, New Jersey, or New York, pay extra close attention. These are the states most directly in the crosshairs of the Wolford decision. If the Supreme Court rules the way those oral arguments suggested, your state is going to have to tear up large parts of its new gun laws. The sensitive places list will likely need to be massively cut down. And if you currently have a permit in one of those states, you may soon be able to use it in a lot more places than you can right now. Here is what most people get completely wrong about this situation. They think the Supreme Court is trying to put guns everywhere with zero rules. That is not what is happening. The court is not saying there can be no gun-free zones. It is saying those zones have to make sense historically. Schools, government buildings, carouses, those have solid historical backing as off-limit areas. But banning permitted carry in every grocery store, every restaurant, and every park just because there is no posted sign, that is a totally different thing, and that is the line the court appears to be drawing. Here is a hypothetical example to explain this clearly. Imagine your neighbor Dave. Dave lives in a state with these sensitive places laws. He has a clean record. He spent $200 on a safety course. He passed a background check. He waited 6 weeks for his permit to arrive. He is a responsible, law-abiding guy who just wants to protect himself and his family. But now, on any given Tuesday, when Dave drives his kids to soccer practice, stops at the grocery store, grabs dinner at a restaurant, and swings by the bag, he cannot legally carry his firearm at any single one of those stops. His permit is basically decorative. Under the Wolford ruling, that situation could completely change for Dave and millions of people like him. But wait, there is something even more important that most gun owners are completely sleeping on. Hey, quick check. 73% of the people watching this video right now are not subscribed. Do not be in that group. Join the 50,000 gun owners who rely on this channel to get these updates first, straight, and without all the political noise. Click subscribe right now. It costs you nothing. Here's the part nobody else is talking about. Even if Wolford goes perfectly for gun owners, states are going to fight back. California, New York, New Jersey, and Maryland are not going to just roll over. What we are going to see is a wave of new state laws, new challenges, and new cases working their way up through the courts. This is not over after one Supreme Court ruling. This is a long game, and you need to stay informed throughout every single round. Here is what you should actually do right now. First thing, look up your state's current carry laws. Know whether you are in a constitutional carry state, a shall-issue state, or a state with pending legal challenges. Second, know your state's sensitive places list. Even in shall-issue states, carrying in the wrong place can turn a law-abiding citizen into a criminal overnight. Third, if you're in California, Hawaii, Maryland, New Jersey, or New York, watch for the Wolford decision. It will likely drop before July 2026. When it lands, the rules in your state could change fast. Fourth, and this is really important, do not assume that because you have a permit, you are fully protected everywhere. Permits do not cover federal gun F-free zones like school zones, federal buildings, or post offices. Those rules are separate and still fully in effect regardless of what the Supreme Court decides about state laws. Know the difference. Fifth, this is not just about carrying. The Bruin standard that the Supreme Court created is being applied to all kinds of gun laws right now. Background check requirements, magazine capacity limits, restrictions for young adults, restrictions for drug users. All of those are being challenged in court using the Bruin test. More decisions are coming. This wave is not slowing down. This information could literally affect your rights and your freedom before the end of 2026. Subscribe right now because the next video covers exactly what gun owners in restricted states need to do before the Wolford decision drops. That is a deadline with real legal consequences, and I will walk you through every step. All right, let me bring this all together for you. Here's the bottom line. The Supreme Court started shaking the foundation of gun permits in America with the Bruin decision in 2022. That ruling killed the old gatekeeping system where officials could just say no to your permit application without a real reason. Right now in 2026, the court is about to go even further with Wolford versus Lopez. That case could strip away the massive sensitive places restrictions that states like California, Hawaii, Maryland, New Jersey, and New York built as a workaround after Bruin. If it goes the way oral arguments suggest, gun permits in those states are going to mean a whole lot more than they do today. This is your Second Amendment. These are your rights, and you deserve to understand them clearly. If this video helped you, please share it with every gun owner you know. They need this information. Drop a comment below telling me which state you're in and whether this ruling affects you directly. I read every single one. And make sure you are subscribed because I promise you the next video in this series is the one you cannot afford to miss. Quick legal reminder to close us out. Nothing in this video is legal advice. I am a content creator, not your attorney. Laws change, interpretations vary, and your personal situation is unique. Before you make any decisions about carrying or your permit, talk to a licensed firearms attorney in your state. Stay safe, stay legal, and stay informed. I will see you in the next one. Stop.